So normally what I do is I put the guest as the big image and put us as the small image. Let me see if I can do screen share and get some materials up here. So first of all, welcome to both my co-host Sophie Hope and also to Robert Bly and also to Kirky, who's just about to join the stream. All right, welcome,
There
Kirky.
you go, Kirky.
All right, nice.
And Robert.
Okay, so the first thing I would just want to do really quickly is welcome everybody to the live stream today. We're in the final stretch of the Content Marketing Virtual Summit 2021. Had an astounding 12,000 people register and have had thousands of people showing up to the talks and really getting a lot of value and giving positive feedback. And I think that's a credit to all the speakers. So, credit to Robert, to Kirky, and to all the other speakers, as well as the team that has been working behind the scenes. So today, I just want to quickly start off the Q&A by, essentially giving each of our panelists, guest Q&A live stream people to introduce themselves. So I think we'll start with Kirky, since your video is working, so it might be good to start with you. So I have this banner situation here, so let's see if this works. So I think we can play the banner, and Sophie will read the question out.
Right. So Kirky, can you briefly introduce your focus in content marketing and type of customer that you work with?
Yes, we specialize in thought leadership, PR, and design for commercial real estate firms. So it's specifically business-to-business copywriting.
Cool. Very, very succinct. I like it. So commercial real estate, business-to-business copywriting, and I think that's a really interesting topic. So a lot of people have submitted questions, because I think you're one of the very few people that we've had at the summit who has such a specific focus. And we have a lot of people. One of our guests was an HR copywriter for employee rewards, and we had another, quite a lot of people specializing. But this particular specialty, commercial real estate, people are really curious about how does that work, because it's so different. So Robert, similar to the introduction from Kirky, I'll ask you the same question, which is, for people who don't know you, would you please just quickly introduce yourself and the types of clients and projects you work with?
Well, as far as my introduction, as you can see, I'm a purple rectangle with a red line through me. I live in another dimension, but I am a little different than a lot of the people here. I have been for 40 years, a full-time freelance direct response copywriter. Within that, I have, over those decades, done more content marketing than I can fit in my file cabinets in my hard drive. I've written content for clients, some content for my own. I have a side business where I sell information products by online, and I also have written. Books are my avocation, and I have written over 100 books published by mainstream publishers like McGraw-Hill, John Wiley & Sons, and HarperCollins. So I have plenty of content writing experience, but my main profession is direct response strategy for lead generation and direct sales, online and offline, and writing the actual direct response copy.
Awesome. So just to kind of summarize, a really broad range of experience, but really coming from something called direct response copywriting. And for people who may not be familiar with that is where copywriting essentially started, both in terms of journals and magazines, but also in terms of sending out pieces of mail, which was really a very challenging thing to get copy right, because you didn't get it right, a lot of pieces of mail went out, and then nobody bought whatever it was you were trying to convey. So I'm going to hand it back to Sophie with this next question. And
This question is
if you don't like the question, Kirky, you can let us know when we go to another one. But
this question is for Kirky. So what is a lead magnet, and what are some of the examples that have worked well for you and for your clients?
Sure. Offering white papers, even blog posts, any content that's going to be of real value to your audience, that's going to obviously drive them to click and to magnetically draw them to you rather than you having to reach out to them. That's not to say that direct response isn't crucial and effective, though. But using lead magnets, using that content that's going to draw them in is really crucial for your ROI.
That's pretty cool. And so in this space that you have been working with, what are some of the tie-up lead magnets that you have seen that work really well for your clients? Could you share about that?
You're asking me again?
I'm sorry. So I'll ask the question again. In this space, in this commercial real estate, what are some of the lead magnets, kind of like the type that's work for your clients?
Yes. White papers, case studies, videos, webinars, any content, like I said, that's going to generate value and really provide insight to your prospect base to help them solve their problems, reach their goals. So there's so many forms of content. It can be a written video. You can even print it and send it to your audience as well, depending on your budget and what type of market you're trying to reach. But any content where they're going to really see the value and just have to get it, have to click. They're going to have to submit their their email address to be able to get it, and it's not too high a price. It's not too big cost of admission to get that content. So.
Cool. So I think what's really interesting is that for commercial real estate specifically, people who have been attending the summit have been curious, about these different types of things that work for B2C or that work for coaches or work for other types of like nutrition or supplement companies or e-commerce companies. But for commercial B2B companies, it's a very interesting focus. So I think some of these questions around lead magnets and webinars and white papers, we might want to get a little bit of sort of flavor on what kinds of things work in that space. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So we'll go to back and forth between the two guests. So the next question is for Robert. So the question is kind of one that probably is very easy for you to explain or talk about. But what does long form content mean? That's the question.
Whether it's copy or content, there was a belief for decades, and many people still have it. And the belief is no one reads, and therefore your copy has to be as short as possible. Those of us who can measure the results of what we do in terms of clicks, visitors, opt-ins, lead generation, direct sales, know that this is often not the case. And there are formulas for determining copy length, but often longer copy sells better because it answers in content. It provides more of the useful information that the prospect needs to know to come over to you and say, these guys know what they're talking about. I like this methodology. And in direct response, if you want $100 from someone or $500, we have some offers that we sell direct online that are $7,000 or $8,000. And if you want to get that kind of money, you have to, in your copy, answer not only make all your sales points, but you have to answer any question that would come up, because it's not a webinar, so people don't get a chance to ask you questions. And so it has to be much more thorough, much more complete. And long copy for direct response offers often, not always, often outpulls short copy, often, even usually significantly.
I think it's a really helpful answer. And one of the things that you brought up, Robert, in your answer, which is first of all, I really like the starting point where you talked about misconceptions or myths that people don't read. And I like that you started with that, and then you sort of broke that myth and broke that misconception. So that's a very important point, because people will see this long form, and long form could be, we'll ask you in a minute, but I think it can be 2,000 plus words, 3,000 plus words. So when people look at something that long, they're thinking, well, people don't read. What's the point of writing something like that? But as you said, you've actually proven that in some cases people do really want to read. And one of the critical points is, with a long form copy, you can go through all their potential obstacles. So you're actually weaving in and out of their concerns, and that's one of the beauties of long form copy, is you can get into their concerns. You don't have to just hit them with, here's the solution and take it or leave it, right? Because most people are going through a whole psychological process of pros and cons of making a commitment, especially if you have something that's a $7,000 or several $1,000 or $500 type of product. So we're going to switch back and forth. So I'm going to go to the next question, will be for Kirky.
Right. So for Kirky, when writing for B2B clients, the writing style have to be serious?
It doesn't have to be serious, but it has to be pragmatic. So you have to get to the point. You have to make them succinctly. In this case, long form content can work, but overwhelmingly the feedback I get from clients and from prospects is that they want it to be short. I think professionals, they're generally really busy. They got a lot on their mind, so they really want you to get to the point. They don't mind a little bit of humor, a little bit of levity, a little bit of conversational tone, but they want you to get right to the point. Waste no time. There should be zero fluff whatsoever. Everything needs to have a purpose, a point, and fit together with your message. And that's what I find effective for B2B specifically.
Yeah, that would make sense, right? Because they're really, in a way, they have to make a decision that's a financial decision, and their time is very limited oftentimes. So they're really looking to see, is this something I'm even interested in, and get to the point, right? If you start to meander, they might just say, oh, this is not a really thoughtful brand. So the next question is back to Robert. So one thing, Robert, you mentioned in your talk that I thought people really responded to was kind of an advanced discussion on opt-in forms. But one of the questions that someone submitted is, what are some good things to do in an opt-in form?
Well, the thing that I see in a lot of opt-in forms that are offering, say, an ebook or a report or a white paper that's a PDF document, they show the PDF document, they ask you more questions than you were asked by the U.S. Census Bureau, and when you're done, you either get the document or you don't. But what you're doing then is you're not generating leads. You're just giving away free information, which is not the purpose of marketing. So a content form, an opt-in form should have several things. First, it should offer an incentive to act now, like free content, like a report. But then it should also qualify the person who is downloading it. So on my opt-in forms, I say, I make them tell me about themselves. They have 3 boxes they can check. 1, hey, Bob, I just want the free stuff only. Now, if they do that and the free stuff is in a specialized subject, they've indicated some qualification. I mean, why would an ordinary person want a special report on desalting hydrocarbon crude oil streams? So they're somewhat qualified. But then there's a second box. They could say, hey, can you send us technical specs and product descriptions of your desalting unit? Now they are more qualified because they want to know about what you're selling, and they wouldn't do that, unless they were serious buyers. The third one is even more intense. It says, "Hey, Bob, we have a salt problem. Give me a call so we can discuss how you might implement a custom solution." And when you have those boxes, now you are and there are other ways to qualify leads on an opt-in form, but now you are qualifying the leads. So you're not just getting an opt-in or a download of a document, which is desirable as it is. is not worth that much. You're generating qualified prospects, much more valuable.
Yeah, I think that's really a very helpful point. And I was going to try to share my screen and show your opt-in form. And it, I couldn't do it because I have to quit the live stream and come back on. So maybe I'll do it a little bit later when Sophie has it. But it says to see whether you qualify for a free copy of the Business to Business Marketing Handbook, just fill in the form below and click Submit Now. And I think just immediately that first sentence, to see whether you qualify for a free copy, is really interesting. Like it's fascinating because I don't think that out of 100 opt-in forms that I've seen and studied, that's extremely rare to have that sort of free, that first question to see whether you qualify. And I think that's fascinating because it means immediately that what they're getting is not for everyone, and that that means that there's probably more value behind it. And then secondly, you have the 3 different options that you just mentioned, which is please send me, and then you have 3 options: a free copy of the book, the free information kit, and the free no obligation estimate. So just really the way you've structured that is fascinating because number one, you've pre sort of said to them, hey, this is actually something that not everyone is going to get, this is right for everyone. You may not be the right target. And secondly, what level of response do you want? And the more engaged they are, the more you know that you need to prioritize them as a lead. So I think that's just an amazingly good example. I might go away and come back in a second so that I can share my screen. Let me.
I actually have it here. If you want me to share the screen, I have it here.
Go ahead, please, if you can.
Yeah. So.
My guess is you won't be able to share until you quit and come back. Let's go to the Kirky next, and then we'll come back in a minute to this one. Okay. So here's the next question. We'll come back in a second. Okay. So Sophie, you want to ask the next question?
Yeah. Right. So who are in-demand readers of commercial real estate copywriting, Kirky?
Sure. I'd say there's 2 main groups. There's executives, which are the people running the companies and administering the products, putting out their pitches. And then there's the users, and generally it's of buildings. So for property management companies, there's going to be and for real estate investment development companies, there's going to be their user audience. So there's a little bit of a B2C element in a lot of this, but a lot of those are business users, anyways. So primarily users of buildings, users of products. The end client for our clients, and then the clients themselves that are marketing to each other. We're marketing to them, et cetera, et cetera. So primarily the executives and then users.
Yeah, I think one thing that Kirky, you do really, really well, on your website, which is creative. I think it's creative real estate copy, right, Kirky?
Creative
the right
real
one.
estate copy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice website. And
thank you.
What I like, one of the things I really like about it is that you said right away that you used the word collaborate. Why collaborate, right? Mm-hmm. Your content speaks to prospects. And you also talk about scaling the real estate business, which is really interesting. So you're not saying, hey, hire me. You're saying, let's grow your business and let's scale your business, right? So I really like that. So specifically, and I think also you've talked about different things such as thought leadership articles, press releases, videos, websites, emails, all marketing channels, right? When you have somebody essentially leading the commercial real estate copywriting and going through all the steps. So I think that's really a very, very well thought out, well designed, and well presented sort of like we help this type of business solve this problem through these specific things that we do for you. So you've kind of, and I think on your LinkedIn as well, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's just extremely clearly laid out. And, I can just imagine someone coming and going, this guy literally knows what problems we have, what outcomes we need, and how to get us there. And I think that's that's awesome that you have that there. So we should dive into that coming back in a minute. Okay, so this one, Sophie, you want to take this one for Robert?
Right. So, Robert, some people write very long and complex sentences. What's the main problem with that?
The problem is they don't know what they're doing. But the real problem is there's a simple rule for writing clear content and other documents, and it's the 4S rule, and it's really easy to implement. It's short sections, short paragraphs, short sentences, and small words. People, there was a feud between Hemingway and Faulkner criticized Hemingway. He says, "Oh, he's illiterate. He doesn't, he uses such primitive language. Mine is so descriptive." And Hemingway said, Fitzgerald thinks I don't know the $10 words. I do. I just prefer to use the $1 words. And that's, and that's it. Keep it simple, short. So, people don't, get lost in long sentences. And the copy doesn't flow that well.
Yeah, there's a thing that you're sort of hitting on, Robert, which is that as people read something or listen also, their brain has to do a certain amount of processing or work. And if I think the technical term is cognitive load. And if you make your reader work hard, they're getting tired as they're reading your article. So, and they just say, "I'm getting tired," and then they stop reading it. So, and another thing too, I think that you could probably speak to is that people don't go out in person. If you met somebody at a conference, and most people wouldn't say a sentence with lots and lots of subordinate clauses. They wouldn't speak like that. So what they're really doing is they're not reading their own writing aloud. They're not reading it out loud. They're not actually, doing the basic of saying, is this something that someone would actually want to hear if I was talking to them? And if you're not willing to say it, then why are you forcing someone to read it? So I think that's just like you're making your reader do the work instead of doing the work for your reader. So let's just keep going because we have a lot more questions and not much more time. So here's the next question for Kirky.
This question is for Kirky. Do you do a lot of talks to help explain content marketing to commercial real estate companies?
I think that means like networking events and stuff.
Sure, I haven't done a whole lot. We do our podcast and we do workshops for executives. Not a lot's been happening this year, obviously, but that's something that you're going to be seeing more of in the future. Yes.
I see. Okay, so you haven't in the past like done like a talk in front of the chamber or gone to like a real estate conference event, before the current situation and been doing like presentations and networking and that kind of stuff too much. It's mostly the podcast.
Yeah, it hasn't been necessary to do that. And I would say, this is going back before the podcast, all of that. In the last 5 to 10 years, it really hasn't been necessary to do that because through the online medium, it's been a lot easier to attract leads. All the work is done remotely. I don't really need to interface with the clients in person. In fact, maybe met 1 or 2 of our clients, honestly, over years. It's just really not a necessity to do that. Find speaking to people online through this medium is much more effective. It's cost effective, time effective. That it just really hasn't been necessary in our business. It's always been something that I wanted to do. That I felt like yes, I should go do a lot of talks, attend a lot of events. I should go to the realtor conventions. Go to there's so many of them in the commercial real estate industry, for the mortgage industry, finance, but it just really hasn't been necessary to do that. We distribute the content, the digital medium, and that same audience receives it, consumes it. That's not to say that those strategies aren't a good idea. Absolutely. But it just hasn't been necessary in our business yet. But going into the future, participating in events like this, there's a value. And I personally would prefer to do it online. Honestly, I really don't want to go to convention. That's really not my style. It's not really how I want to use my time. If I'm, flying or driving to Vegas, I don't really want to go there to attend a convention. I'd rather go to hang out with my wife and family, than go to conventions and do all that. And that is a realtor in the past. I did go to conventions. I participated in them, attended them. I didn't give talks and speeches, but I've been around that scene, and yeah, I don't really need to get on stage and whatnot. This is a
That's a
fine meeting.
fa-
I enjoy speaking to you from my desk here. This is great.
That's a really fascinating answer. I think at least from my imagination, I thought to be a commercial real estate content marketer and successful copywriter, it's all about local events and local meetups and shaking hands and your local network. And I thought that's really what it took. That you're literally just day after day after day going to sitting around a table, with like a whole bunch of real estate, commercial real estate guys, and building that personal in-person network. And so I love the fact that you actually don't do that. I love it, because I think that means that number one, that it's not limited to just physical networking, and your business is a lot more scalable in how you operate. So I think that's an awesome answer. I love that answer. So I'm going to switch now back to Mr. Bly, and Sophie, you can ask the next question.
Right. So, how can you get the reader to picture themselves taking action when they read your copy?
There are multiple techniques. One of them, very simply, that we used to do more so in the pre-digital age, we would have a coupon in the ad that you're supposed to remove, fill in, and return. We would put a dashed border around the coupon, and then on the border, it sounds hokey, there'd be a little graphic of a scissor. So they knew you're supposed to cut this out and mail it. And there are many ways to do that, but a little different is to give them in the copy a picture, not of taking action, but what will your life be like once you get our service or product? And the only way to get that is to take action now. And what we do in our calls to action, we use a lot, I think more than average, we use a lot of urgency, which is because that's what really works to get people to act. If they don't act, they think about it. And a decision deferred is a decision not made.
So you're saying that, Robert, one of the critical things in terms of having the reader take action is urgency, right? So I think that actually is its own question. So I think we should come back to that and just really spend a couple minutes, or 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes on just that question. So I'll add that in the queue, and we'll have that question come up in a second. But you also said another thing, that in terms of getting the reader to take action in sort of like the direct response era, there would actually be like a little place where there's a scissor mark, and they would know cut here and send it in, right? So in the digital age, I'm not sure how that would translate. So, but you're saying that you do have some ideas to translate that into the digital age. So maybe you could just talk about, just really quickly, and then we'll go to Kirky, and then we'll come back with the other question. But how would you translate that scissors into like a digital age?
What we do, one thing we do, let's say I happen to do a lot of work in the dietary supplement field. And so we have our offers, 1 bottle, 3 bottles, 6 bottles. And with each offer, you get a certain amount of bonuses, which are usually special health reports. And at the bottom of the order page, it says, if you order within 7 days, you get this express bonus or quick response bonus, and people will order faster to get that. Another way we do it on direct response TV, let's say we're selling a lower end or middle end ab machine, maybe the one Chuck Norris uses, and it's 5 payments of $59 each. You'll notice at the end of the commercial, we say, we show the 5 payments, and we put a red X through one of the payments. And we say, if you order within the next 10 minutes, we'll take 1 payment off the price. And you see that online as well, where people put up an offer and they say, this offer expires Friday at midnight. So those are some of the calls, and there are many. Urgency, as you say, is a whole subject I could write a monograph on, but those are some of the basic methods.
Okay, let's put the next question up, and I will just mute myself as I turn off this background noise.
Right. So this question is for Kirky. A commercial real estate company has just emailed you that they want to learn more. Do you set an appointment or send a case study, or what would you do?
The first step is always just to start a conversation. It's not to make a pitch, not to try to support your credibility or tell them about your benefits or do any of that. Just starting a conversation, just reaching out, saying, hey, thanks for reaching out. Tell me a little bit more about the problem. Please share me a link to the website you're working on or to some of your collateral that you have for the projects that you're planning. Let's just talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Then let's talk. Let's have a strategy session. Let's have a conversation. I use Calendly and send them a link to strategy session scheduling. And so when they're ready, they can schedule a link and then we'll just talk. And it's just an informative, strategy, collaborative session where we're just talking. And then at the end, if they're interested, if they want to talk to us further, if they see value in it, then we'll proceed further, to me making my elevator pitch more. But since they've already seen our content, they've already watched our videos, they've browsed our website, they kind of already know what our value proposition is. They already know what the pitch is. So I don't really have to sit there, explaining it to them. Generally not that many questions either about the process or anything, because the website kind of outlines that and they've already watched the videos there. So they kind of know what we're about. It's really not, it's not a hard sell. It's just, let's just talk, establish a relationship. You noted earlier about the choice of the collaborative word. It's very intentional. In fact, every single thing on that website, every word, everything, every element is completely intentional, to connect with that audience and to help them understand that it's just about us collaborating. Yeah, it's about the creative process. It's about the integrative process. It's about bringing the team together, all the stakeholders, planning it out, implementing it, monitoring the results. So it's all about collaboration. Yeah, that's the entire message. Sorry, I lost track of the question.
No, you got it. So here's the follow-up
there.
question. Here's the follow-up question, since we did a follow-up question to Robert. We're going to give it to you. So Sophie can read this one out. Well, actually, it was not this one. It was this one. Let's do this one first.
Right. So generally, do potential clients know about you from webinars or from your website, etc., before they become clients?
Yes, I just alluded to that. Yes, they've already consumed our content. They've attended our workshop. They've watched our videos. They listen to the podcast. They've read our blog. So they already have a really good awareness of who we are and what we do. And the credibility has already been established. And they can see through the way we generate our content that we know what we're doing. It's seldom do I get asked for samples anymore. The portfolio is usually not even an issue. We get a lot of high-end clients that don't ask. They're just, okay, let's get started. We have that strategy call. We plan it out. I send over, a scope. We kind of iron it out a little bit. Then I send them a formal proposal, which I think is really important. And that's it. We can close it and get to work.
Yeah, I think in a sense, just to put that in context, how long did it take you to build up to where you are now with all the blogs and the materials you have? Like how long have you been doing it, and so how long did it take to build that all up?
So we officially started Creative Real Estate Copy in 2016. I'd been doing marketing under a different company, doing B2C actually for a long time, since like 1999. And then so in 2016 we started Creative Real Estate Copy. And I had a pretty good concept for what we were doing right from the start. And so I built out the early versions of the website that you see. And from there, just been constantly refining it over the years, adding new information, adding new sections, generating new content, exploring new ideas. I think in the last year, we've made the most progress with really the inbound content and establishing the brand, because it really became, it became so critical to at the beginning of the crisis. I mean, we had to do that to be able to adapt. Before that, I'll admit, we were a little bit lazy. We're ranked like first or second on Google, so it wasn't really that much of a problem. If you're looking for what we do, you're going to find us. So I didn't have to work that hard. But this last year hit, clients, they gotta roll back their budget a little bit. They're getting, they get nervous. So it was I had to really make a real push to build our brand and put out that content. We started the podcast. We have out like 15 episodes and have like 6 more that are recorded that we're working on. And so we've been just trucking away this last year, really trying to build and push and expand the brand, be able to serve our clients more fully and build that value proposition and that relationship with our broader audience.
Yeah, I really like the way you've described that. And it's not that long to have started in 2015 to build up to where you are now. And I really like that focus that you described. I can see that there are a lot of care has gone into not only your website, but also your LinkedIn and just in general, the way you communicate it feels like you take out things and make them more specific and more clear than just keep putting stuff in, which I think is really helpful. So let's go to this question here for Robert. Sophie, you can.
Right. So Robert, what advice would you give to someone who is just getting started?
Become an expert, not in copywriting, although you should, not in marketing, although you should, in a topic. Like you're an expert in commercial real estate. Become an expert with deep knowledge of a subject that and a market that you would want to write about. That is what will give you the edge in copywriting today. People are looking for, and just as you specialize in commercial real estate, I think that's the right way to go. People are looking for specialists, not generalists. The proof of this is who makes more money, your family doctor or a neurosurgeon? Who's in more demand? Specialize. And when people tell me, younger people, oh, I'm going to get a master's of fine arts and creative writing, or I'm going to study journalism or copywriting, I said, no, study geology. There's a fortune to be made in writing copy about mining and silver and gold. So that's what I recommend.
That's also really a wonderful answer, and it's such a synergistic kind of point with having Kirky here, because he's just exactly describing that's what he's done.
That's right.
So Kirky, you can respond.
That's been absolutely crucial in the growth of our business, and that's what's allowed it to happen. That's our entire value proposition, really. We offer other services and other things, but really it's just about the specialty in CRE. So people be forgiving about a lot of other things if you can just prove to them that you're an expert and that you can in a sophisticated way express what they want to say about their specific type of content to their particular audience. That's really the most important thing. So even if your grammar is not perfect, or you don't have that fine arts degree, all those things, you'll be all right. You can hire an editor, so long as you know what you're talking about.
Sophie, this is the next question for Kirky.
This one is really, so if someone wants to specialize in content marketing for commercial real estate, what advice could you give them, Kirky?
Well, it's going to be tough. I would say you're going to have to get an education. You're going to have to really understand the industry. I knew, like what Bob was saying, when I decided the specialty that I was going to focus on, is when I was looking at that, I was looking for the opportunity. I was looking for the space. I was already in real estate at the time. I started out as a realtor in 2007. And then over time, as I really realized that writing was what I wanted to focus on, it was a question of exactly what do I want to write about? And then it became obvious. It's like, well, I have experience in real estate. It makes sense. I enjoy writing about real estate. It's an interesting topic. And, the question disappeared. Can you bring the question back up there?
Sure.
Yeah. So getting back to the advice is, you need to know your specialty. That's really what it is. So if you know commercial real estate, then you can learn the marketing aspect. You can go read a bunch of blog posts. You can take classes in copywriting. You can hire people around you to fill in the gaps in your knowledge, your mastermind group, so that you can achieve what you want to achieve. But it's really about just knowing your topic and then being able to compete. If you're going to compete with us, you're going to have to be really good at SEO. You're going to have to be good at branding. You're going to have to be able to, convince executives to want to work with you, make them feel comfortable. and show them the bridge to get from where they're at to where they want to be. If you can do all those things, anybody can be successful at what we do. I think. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, it's not. Copywriting is difficult, I suppose. The marketing is difficult, but it's not neuroscience. It's not some other mathematical type of thing. If you put in the work, if you do the branding, if you just study whatever topic it is that you're involved in and really, really know it and understand both sides of the audience, you can be successful at it.
So we're going to have one last question for Kirky, and then one last question for Robert. And so let's go to this one for Kirky.
So this one, do you work with mostly local clients or client all over?
Yeah, all over. I mean, we have a lot of local clients. It just happens that way. When we were in California, we had a lot of clients in California, and then we also had the hotspots for our clients are New York, Texas, Florida, Europe. A lot of clients just find us from there. The real estate industry is pretty similar overall. A lot of terminology is similar. The needs, the desires, the value propositions are all very similar. So yeah, we haven't really had to work local, but just it ends up. We're in Austin now, Cedar Park specifically, and a lot of clients come to us in Texas. I think they like to see that you're here, and these are all hot markets. So a lot of people need our services here, and they
any international. Any
Yes.
international yet? Oh, wow.
We did a very successful project in Canada recently, a PR project that we just finished up last week. And we've had lots of clients from all over. Honestly, we've had clients from just for every continent, I think. Yeah, really.
Wow, really cool.
Australia, various, all over, honestly. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it does translate globally. That's so cool. All right. This is the final question of the live stream. I think it'll be a fun one, and we can spend, a little bit of time digging into this. So go ahead.
Right. So, how many books have you written, and which is your latest book, Robert?
So I have written over 100 published books, probably at this point 103, 104. And my answer is going to be, what's your latest book? I wrote a book on a guy, a science biography. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. His name is Charles Proteus Steinmetz. And everybody talks about when the electric grid in the United States was built, they say Tesla, they say Westinghouse, they say Thomas Edison. But Steinmetz, who is largely forgotten today, although he was very famous back then, contributed in some ways more to the electric grid than anybody else. He was the master he mastered the electronics, the calculus, the equations of figuring out how to transmit AC power over long distances. And I wrote it because it pissed me off that I would go to the bookstore and every year there'd be another 2 or 3 books on Edison, another 2 or 3 on Tesla, and nothing on Steinmetz. So I said, it's not fair to him. And the second reason is he had I won't go into it unless you ask me, he had a more challenging, unusual, and interesting personal life than any of the other guys.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's quite a cool answer and a kind of a surprising one, because a lot of times when we get on these types of shows, people talk about their business, their writing, but you love writing. You said, in one of our prior, when you're doing your feature talk, Bob, that you're happiest when you're actually in front of your computer and creating content and creating articles and long form content and writing books. And that just really shows that you love telling stories, you love writing, and if something sticks in your mind that it needs to be written, it's almost a force of nature. You can't really resist at that point. You have to get it out there, which I think that's really when you know that you love it. That's when you really know that you love it. So just to kind of wrap up, I think that I just want to say thank you, first of all, to both Kirky and to Bob for coming on today and sharing your journey, sharing your how you got into it, sharing some of the very specific things that you do, the style of communication, the fact that you utilize your own digital content as sort of a place for people to learn about how you think and work, and and all of that. And I think that's amazing. And I think also Bob has very similarly done that. Like in terms of his opt-in forms, he really walks the walk, and he really, follows what he teaches. And I think that's exactly right. And so to everyone listening, I just want to say thanks to all the speakers. Thanks to both Bob and Kirky for being on the live stream Q&A with us today. We've got another full day tomorrow lineup of speakers. And we're almost at the end of the summit. So it's been a fantastic journey. I hope you guys are getting a lot of value from the summit and enjoy today's live stream. So thanks again, Bob and Kirky.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. See you guys in the Content Marketing Virtual Summit. And that's it for today's live stream. Take care, everyone. Have a great day wherever you are.
Easy, guys.
Take care.